Welcome to the Unitarian Church of Los Alamos and our video worship service for Sunday, May 23rd, 2021. As Unitarian Universalists, we affirm and promote the inherent worth and dignity of all people and gather together in a free and responsible search for truth and meaning. Whoever you are, whomever you love, wherever you are on your life's journey, wherever you are right now, you are welcome to be a part of this community. I'd like to extend a special welcome to those of you who are coming to us for the first time through these video services. I invite you to get to know us better and take some time to connect with us on Facebook at our page there or in our virtual fellowship hall, or send me an email and ask me any questions you might have about what you experienced online. The links for all of those can be found below this video in the service notes. Once again, welcome to worship. And we look forward to meeting you in person and seeing you again very soon. We gather together in different ways this day, from computer screens, from televisions, from telephones. We gather reaching out across wires and ether, waving to one another from a safe distance to come together in religious community. From living room to front porch to car seat to sofa, we gather as we are able, ready to be of service to one another and to the world, ready to build the community of hope and of love as we face this bright morning. We are apart, but we are together, offering our love and commitment, our hopes and our prayers in service to one another and to this world. It is a new way, but an old way that we come together in worship today. So come, let us worship together. Please join us in our affirmation.
Love is the doctrine of this church, the quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve life in fellowship, to the end that all souls shall grow in harmony. Thus do we covenant with each and with all.
For all our joys, all our sorrows, whether we share them with one another or hold them close to our hearts, let us be together in spirit and in a moment of silence. Let us give thanks for a bouquet of people. We give thanks for children. Like tulips and iris, they multiply around us, making the world ever more filled with color, beauty, and new life. May we bless them as they replant themselves ever further from us, knowing that they need their own space to grow. We give thanks for generous friends, as constant in bloom as echinacea, and whose gifts lift up our bodies and spirits. We give thanks for feisty friends, as indomitable as geraniums, and for continuous friends who, like bittersweet and ivy, hold on and never let go, and can never be gotten rid of. Crotchety friends, as prickly as rose bushes, their beauty a secret that is only discovered through careful gardening. For surprising friends who at first glance seem dour and then blossom into joy as quickly as forsythia. For funny friends, silly as snapdragons, and serious friends, complex as chrysanthemums. For comfortable friends, their gentle presence as soothing as the sweet smell of lilacs. For stormy weather friends who stand by us in hard times, like lily of the valley that cannot be deterred by shade or shadow. For old friends nodding like sunflowers in the evening time, and young friends coming on fast as flocks. For friends as unpretentious as dogwood, as persistent as pachysandra, steadfast as azalea, and who, like snowdrops, can be counted on to see you through the winter and remind you that spring always comes. For loving friends who wind around us like wisteria and embrace us, despite our blights, wilts, and witherings. And finally, forget-me-not friends, gone but never forgotten. Their beauty lives on in our memories and in our hearts. For this bouquet of people who brighten our lives each in their own way, we give thanks. Amen.
The Flower Ceremony. A Plain and Simple Beauty. Story by Janine Kane Grossmeyer. In the city of Prague, in the land of Czechoslovakia, in the year 1923, there was a church. But the building did not look much like a church. It had no bells, no spires, no stained glass windows. It had no organ to make beautiful music. It didn't even have a piano. It had no carvings of wood or statues of stone. It had no candles or chalices. It had no flowers. The church did have some things. It had 4 walls, and a ceiling and a floor. It had a door and a few windows. It had some wooden chairs. But that was all, plain and simple. Except the church also had people who came to it every Sunday. It had a minister, and his name was Norbert Čapek. He had been the minister at the Plain and Simple Church for 2 years. Every Sunday, Minister Čapek went to church, and he spoke to the people while they listened, sitting quietly and still in those hard wooden chairs. When he was done speaking, the people talked a little bit among themselves, and then they went home. And that was all. No music, no candles, no food, not even coffee or donuts. Springtime came to the city of Prague, and Norbert Čapek went out for a stroll. The rains had come, the birds were singing, and the flowers were blooming all over the land. The world was beautiful. Then an idea came to him, simple and clear, plain as day. The next Sunday, he asked all the people in the church to bring a flower, or a budding branch, or even a twig. Each person was to bring one. "What kind?" they asked. "What color? What size?" "You choose," he said. "Each of you choose what you like." And so, on the next Sunday, which was the first day of summer, the people came with flowers of all different colors and sizes and kinds. There were yellow daisies and red roses. There were white lilies and blue asters, dark-eyed pansies and light green leaves, pink and purple, orange and gold. There were all those colors and more. Flowers filled all the vases, and the church wasn't so plain and simple anymore. Minister Čapek spoke to the people while they listened, sitting quiet and still in those hard wooden chairs. "These flowers are like ourselves," he said. "Different colors and different shapes and different sizes, each needing different kinds of care, but each beautiful, each important and special in its own way." When he was done speaking, the people talked a little bit among themselves, and then they chose a different flower from the vases before they went home. And that was all, and it was beautiful, plain and simple as the day.
So this is normally our service where we thank all of our teachers and volunteers, and normally you would come up on our stage and receive gifts given to you by our church, and our young ones would come up and pass those out to you and thank you for all of the time and energy and talents you have shared with them this year as their teachers and youth advisors. And so we are still recognizing all of you who have been teachers and volunteers in our religious education programming this year. And I want to send a special thanks to all of you on the RE committee who have dedicated a lot of time and energy into carrying out our connections and keeping our connections alive throughout this really hard year, and being my rock and my support as well throughout this pandemic, very hard year. And you all will be receiving soon, if haven't already, your teacher gifts, volunteer gifts of thank you and gratitude in the mail. And they are some of the photo magnets that I have created from some of my photography that I have done around our area. And you will be receiving that and a note that says, "Thank you for all the time, energy, and talents you have given to our kids, youth, and adults. Please enjoy this photo magnet that symbolizes the beauty that surrounds us and the interconnected web of existence. Thank you for keeping our church connections alive during a very hard year. In gratitude, Tina DeYoe, DLRE." And you will also receive your seed UU principal seed paper. And some of you received this at our flower communion outside last weekend. But you will receive your UU principal seed paper so that not only can you grow some beautiful wildflowers, but you can also remember to keep growing your UU values and principles out into our wider world, as you have shared with our kids and youth this year as well. And thank you again from the bottom of my heart. And I am grateful for all of you. And I'll be seeing you this summer.
The end of our church year is also traditionally the time when we celebrate our high school seniors and welcome them into young adulthood in Unitarian Universalism. And this year we are celebrating Lily Hodeling and Alaric Wheeler.
So we celebrate you both today and all of your accomplishments. And both Alaric and Lily are going to be studying video game design, which I think is pretty cool, that y'all are on similar paths. And Alaric will be attending the University of Wisconsin Stout in the fall. And we wanted to gift you both with this book from our church. And it is titled, "Whatever You Are, Be a Good One." And I have marked some readings in here, some quotes that maybe you guys can take to heart, and we'll be reading one of those quotes here in a second for you guys. So look in your mail, make sure you got your book from your church community.
When we dedicate our young children in this church, we give them a rose with the thorns removed as a sign of this community's dedication to keeping you safe and secure as you grow. Today, as you prepare to go out from this community, we send you another rose, and you'll receive that as well at your home sometime soon. This time, the thorns are in place. We can no longer keep you safe in the same ways that we have. The trials and the pains of life are yours to wrestle with now. When we dedicate our children, we pledge to help them grow in spirit. If we have lived up to that pledge, then you are more than ready now to handle the thorns as well as the roses. We are proud of who you have become in your time with us, and we are proud to say that you are one of ours. Remember, though, Just as you are ours, we are yours. Carry the spirit of this community with you wherever your journey may take you next. Remember to reach out to us when you feel you have lost your center, when you need a reminder of who this person is that we have helped you to become. We celebrate this person you have become, and we wish you blessings on the road ahead.
One of the quotes that we have picked out for you is a quote by Vincent van Gogh. "It is good to love many things, for therein lies the true strength, and whosoever loves much performs much and can accomplish much, and what is done in love is well done."
Spring has now unwrapped the flowers, day is fast reviving. Life in all her growing powers towards the light is striving. Gone the iron touch of cold, winter time and frost time. Seedlings working through the mold now make up for lost time. All the world with beauty fills, gold the green enhancing. Flowers make merry on the hills, set the meadows dancing. Earth puts on her dress of glee, flowers and grasses hide her. Go we forth in charity, one and all beside her.
The work of ministry is referred to as a vocation or a calling, and not just a job. Because to answer a call to ministry, to take on the vocation, is to enter into a way of being and not just a doing of tasks. The being of ministry requires of me the capacity to be fully present to my own human journey in all its complexity and in all of its parts, body and mind and spirit and my emotional life. And it requires me to be fully present to the relationship of my own self to all that is, and to be fully present to all the complex moving pieces of my whole self, and report back to you frequently on my progress and my learnings. But despite that call, that vocation, that requirement to enter into a way of being, ministry still encompasses quite a bit of doing. There are plenty of tasks at hand and plenty of hats that I wear on a day-to-day basis. I am the CEO of an organization, and I am a supervisor to staff, and I am a counselor to many, and I often act as an accountant as well, or a strategist, or an advocate for things in the community. And in this last year plus, I have also taken on the roles of television producer and amateur epidemiologist. Ministers, and myself in particular, it certainly feels like lately, are jacks of all trades and definitely masters of none of them. And what this means is that there are tasks and tasks, so many tasks to do. And the doing of the tasks turns into something of a daily routine that it is easy to fall into patterns of. It is easy to subsume my own self into the daily task grind. I've confessed before how much I love a spreadsheet with a to-do list on it. And it's a real serotonin boost from time to time to be able to cross off those little cells when I have accomplished a task. But the more tasks and projects that I tackle in my day-to-day work, in my calling, the less and less attention it seems sometimes I am able to pay to that wholeness of the self that I am trying to be. In fact, frequently I find that I have dropped pieces of myself here and there in order to make more time for the tasks and the projects that the work of ministry requires of me, until ultimately I start to feel a little fragmented. I become mired day to day in what a colleague of mine once waggishly referred to as the ministrivia, rather than the ministry. Subsumed in the trivia rather than wholeheartedly answering the call to ministry. And when the dropped fragments demand my attention, I start to feel guilty about what I've lost, and I grow even more resistant to the answer to the call. And I cry out in my own self-defense rather pathetically, I have no time for this. And of course, that's not true. I've just forgotten, as I get lost in the grind, how to stay in balance with myself with all the time that I actually have. And because the vocation of ministry, because the call I am answering encompasses the being as well as all of this doing, and because the doing of the task grind muddies my sense of time and priorities, I end up after a while with a rather skewed and fragmented sense of what that call actually is. I lose my sense of self as a minister. And it's for this reason that we afford ministers with periodic time for sabbatical. The word comes to us directly from the word Sabbath, for the day of rest. In the Jewish tradition, this was an intentional break from the day-to-day flow of tasks and escape from the rat race. A time out of time, intentional liminality to remember one's relationship to all that is. But beyond the concept of Sabbath in Jewish tradition, there is also the idea of the Jubilee year, to happen every 7th year in the cycle of day-to-day life among the Jewish people. And in the Jubilee year, one was required to let their fields lie fallow where they farm, so that the soil has a chance to refresh and recharge and be able to grow abundantly again. And along with the fields lying fallow, we were to forgive one another the debts we might be owed. The Jubilee year was a giant reset button for the whole community. So what I am embarking on for the next several months is a rather significant time out of time, a portion of a Jubilee year, so to speak. 5 months of liminal space to let go of all of that guilt and self-recrimination I've been laying upon myself that manages to warp my sense of time and priority. To give my soul a fresh start. To let the soil of my mind and spirit lie fallow for a bit so I can recharge and renew it and be ready to grow my own soul again in abundance and share that experience with you. Time so I can put the fragmented pieces of my whole self back together and reclaim a sense of wholeness and renew my relationship to time, so that the ministry and the ministrivia regain some balance in my life. But this is not just my renewal time. After all of us have been wandering the desert of virtual church for 12 plus months, it is time for the whole congregation to renew its sense of self as well. Part of my goal for myself in these coming months is to rediscover my sense of joy in life, because it is in the joy I have found where the glue is that holds those pieces of myself together. Likewise, it's time for the rest of the community to rediscover its sense of joy as well. Time to remember what spark here ignites your own soul, so that we can start to renew a communal sense of time and purpose and priorities. Now, this might sound counterintuitive, it might sound wild and crazy, but this time right now that we are embarking on is the time of Jubilee. What does the community need to let go of? What do we need to forgive in ourselves and one another? What soil amongst us needs to be allowed to lie fallow for a little bit so that our foundation can recharge? The challenges of building the post-COVID church will be waiting for me and for all of us when I return. And they are challenges, but they are ours to face together. And so while I embark on my sabbatical, take your own time to recharge too. Claim double the time when you've fooled yourself into thinking there is no time. Remember in these upcoming months where the fun is in your church home. Remember the stories about what it is that sparks your whole being when you are a part of this community. Because it is the connections to joy that will highlight the paths to where our wholeness lies as a community. And the stories that we can share with one another about how our souls ignite here will ground us together for the work that is to come. And so I leave you for a while now to rest and to renew and to recharge, to rediscover my own joy in the call, to have a revisioning of who I am as a minister, and to return to you whole and ready to serve again. I thank you from the bottom of my heart for this opportunity. Know that even as I am gone, I love you deeply, and I still carry you in my heart. And I'll see you again in November.
Hey, you get a flower and you principal seed paper. Yeah, pull over. Hey. Yeah, I'm gonna have to see I'm like, how many do you got? 4 or 5? Okay, so you got 4. Yeah, that's your UU principal seed paper. Yay. Hey, Nina. Ha 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 ha. I know, it's so cool. Not that weird. Yeah, have you ever had it that long? Have you had it that long ever? Yeah, this is so awesome.
It is not by chance that you arrived here today. You have been looking for something larger than yourself. Inside of you, there is a yearning, a calling, a hope for more, a desire for a place of belonging and caring. Through your struggles, someone nurtured you into being, instilling a belief in a shared purpose, a common yet precious resource that belongs to all of us when we share. And so you began seeking a beloved community, a people that does not put fences around love, a community that holds its arms open to the possibilities of love, a heart home to nourish your soul and share your gifts. Welcome home. Yay! Welcome to the celebration.
This is a poem, Flower Communion, titled Flower Communion by Lynn Unger. What a gathering! The purple tongues of iris licking out at spikes of lupine, the orange crepe skirts of poppies lifting over buttercup and daisy. Who can be grim in the face of such abundance? There is nothing to compare, no need for beauty to compete. The voluptuous rhododendron and the plain grass are equally filled with themselves, equally declare the miracles of color and form. This is what community looks like. This vibrant jostle, stem by stem, declaring the marvelous joining. This is the face of communion, the incarnation once more gracefully resurrected from winter. Hold these things together in your sight. Purple, crimson, magenta, blue. You will be feasting on this long after the flowers are gone. And you also have been given UU Principal seed paper. So please take this seed paper home and grow your UU Principal by soaking your paper overnight and then planting it with a thin layer of soil on top. Keep it moist and in the sun daily. Not only will you have beautiful wildflowers pop up, but you can also use your UU Principal seed paper to meditate on the principle given to you. And you can think more on how to apply that principle in your life and in community.
So Facebook reminded me today that it was 5 years ago this weekend that we moved into our new home. So this is a good time as any to start coming back together in small ways, even if we can. We gave you the flowers this year rather than doing our usual communion because we wanted it to be a gift from us to you. The tulips are traditionally a flower of resurrection, for they return every year, and the pink color in the language of florists is for joy and for gratitude. And so we are grateful for you for bearing with us and with each other during this very trying 15 months. And we are rejoicing in the chance to start coming back together again. And so this is our gift to you as we begin to gather. And now we'll close with a blessing for the flowers. Blessed be the flower that triumphs at last over the snows, over the centuries, over the heavy feet of cattle and of soldiers treading down the fragile places of the earth. Blessed be the flower that triumphs at last over the tangled branches, over the withered stem, over the tearing thorns of roses and of barbed wire. Blessed be the flower that triumphs at last, even over the hand that gathers it, cuts it off from life, from roots, from the memory and taste of iron and tears in the soil. Blessed be the flower that triumphs at last over the closed rooms that are not its home, over efforts to domesticate its wild truth, over the vain words of priests and poets. Blessed be the flowers that triumph at last over us, over pasts and futures, over words and silences, over deaths and lives, placing them all in their proper place, restoring to all things their joyful smallness. Blessed be the flower that triumphs at last. And this would be the point where I would say, go now in peace, or, don't hang out for a bit because it's been so long. The end of the church year is also a time for expressing our gratitude to some of the many people who make the daily life of our church possible. It takes all of us to make a congregation. Right now, I would especially like to lift up our board of directors for their continued wisdom and dedication and perseverance in what continues to be a trying year. I appreciate your presence and your gifts among us. And I especially want to thank Andrea Detterman and Susan Gisler and Patrick Sullivan, who are all rolling off of their service to the board after several years. Thank you so much for your time and your talents and your presence with me. And a thank you to our ever-growing worship team for their continued support of our weekly worship services and their willingness to try new things, and for taking on the task of shepherding our sabbatical speakers in these coming months. It's a big effort, and I'm glad you are here to do it. Thank you. And a thanks to my staff, to Tina DeYoe, and Nylea Butler-Moore and Susanna No for their dedication and their continued sense of ministry in their work, and for their good humor as we struggle and strive and succeed together. And to all of our guest musicians who have shared their gifts throughout the year in these video worships, most especially to the members of our virtual choir, for your voices and your bravery and your trust in trying new things to keep music alive in worship, even if it is at a distance. And finally, my deep thanks to our audiovisual team for your talents and your immense time that goes into making virtual worship happen. I don't know if you all can grasp just how much time goes into presenting these services on YouTube every week. To Mike Bonneau and to Renee Mitchell, and most especially to Rick Bolton, who will be stepping back from many of his AV responsibilities after this year. Your time and your creativity in creating weekly worship and weaving together the separate voices of our virtual choir, Rick, they have been a tremendous gift, and I cannot express my gratitude enough for your good work with us. To everyone who has been a part of making this church year happen, who has kept the life of the congregation going, my deep and my heartfelt thanks. I'll see you at the annual meeting. Just a couple of announcements before we end our service today. First, our annual business meeting for our voting members takes place right after the 10 a.m. debut of this service. That is taking place on Zoom. Hopefully you have that link from us already. We will be voting today on our budget for the next fiscal year and our slate of officers for next year as well. Please join us on Zoom for that and say hello to your friends and neighbors. I look forward to seeing you there. Secondly, as I've mentioned in the homily, I am about to embark on my sabbatical. This Tuesday will be the last of the Tuesdays at 2 in the garden that I will be holding. That'll be at 2 p.m. on Tuesday, naturally, in the fountain circle of our memorial garden. We've had some lovely conversations with you over the last several weeks as I've held these. I look forward to seeing you there. Stop on in and say hi or goodbye to me for a little bit as well. I would love to see you. Our offering for the month of May is taken up on behalf of Espanola Pathways Shelter. The Pathways Shelter is a low-barrier shelter serving men and women ages 18 and up with shelter, crisis services, and life skills and job training. 100% of all the offering collected this month will be given to our partner. Please use the Givelify app on your mobile device or use the link in the service notes below. And may what you give bring you joy. Friends, may life bless us and keep us. May the light of life shine upon us and out from within us and be gracious to us and bring us peace. For this is the day. This is the one wild and precious life we have been given. So let us all find a way to rejoice and be glad in it. Go in peace.